Hey, Brian. Hey, there he is. Brian Schrader, Sam J. We're back. It's been 18 days since we recorded the podcast. We apologize for that. We are here. We are back, and we are ready to talk sports. I got to do, Brian, quick public service announcement. You have a beard. Folks can see that beard if they watch our Facebook Live video, and that beard may scratch the mic. FYI.
I'm going to try and hold it out like this.
You need can you like prop a pencil up there? Or like
just shave this side.
Yeah, just shave a track for your microphone. I love it. That is good stuff.
I was going to shave it the other day, and my daughter was like, no, I like it.
Can you center your camera for Be Live a little bit better, old boy? Because all I can see is that sweet microphone and the right side of your face.
Really?
Yeah. That's your better side for sure.
On mine, I can see like a whole zoomed out.
There we go, right there. I got you. You're perfect.
Better?
It's how it presents to the fans. It's all about the fan. No, go back. Like right now, you're not. You're right in the middle of the screen. Right in the middle of the screen. Where is he? Move it. You're good on the gram. Everything's fine. Matt Pugh has joined the show. Good to see Matt here. Hey Matt, how you doing, buddy? Okay, let's jump.
Is that working?
Yeah, you look great.
Okay, fine.
It's fine. How have you been, Brian Schrader?
I've been well. How about you, man?
Dude, as you know, my wife gave birth to a child that wasn't ours. And so that happened. Yeah, that happened. Let's see, 9 days ago. So congrats to our now friends and their new baby and my wife, who was a rock star. It was a quick labor, but it was awesome. If folks saw our post on Instagram, I'm a doula, so not necessarily certified, but I did guide her through the process, which basically just means changing tracks on the MacBook so that way she could listen to different Lana Del Rey songs, which I don't know why. It depressed me, but it got her through the moment. Do you like Lana Del Rey?
I'm not even sure I know who Lana Del Rey is.
Lana Del Rey is awesome. I'm a big fan of Lana Del Rey. It's probably the most depressing haunting music out there. It's right up there with Bon Iver, but the lyrics are a little bit darker for sure. There's somebody else.
You're one of these dudes where, for a lot of people, they have a conversation with you about music and they just feel like fucking idiots.
Yeah, that's how I feel talking to you about debate, though. Or really anything intelligent. So
it's like you've had a conversation with someone where they ask you a question, you're like, I'm gonna lie and pretend I know. They're she's great. But you try that with you, then you're like, it's just an invitation. You'll go 7 steps deeper, and then finally you have to be like, hey, 12 minutes ago I lied. I don't know shit about music.
I have no idea. We took a couple days off, though. Obviously, Catherine has a little maternity leave, and I took a couple days off, and we went to go see Bohemian Rhapsody, and I told you that. I liked it. It was good. It was probably overproduced and a tad overacted, but
I'm big on that movie, right? People are pissed about it.
Yeah, it's what do you expect? It's a Hollywood film. It's gonna be a little bit over the top, but I love it. I loved it because I love Queen. A Queen documentary would obviously be much better. Yeah. But
you're really putting yourself out there when you say something like you love Queen. That's very controversial.
Yeah, for sure. Why is that the way? Not.
Is that a Wayne's World?
That not. Oh, Mike Myers actually made a cameo in the movie, and he talked about. It was a funny joke, and I laughed. Nobody else in the theater laughed. But he talks about Queen goes to Mike Myers, who plays an executive, and they say, "Here's Bohemian Rhapsody. It's this song that you should play on the radio." And he said, "I can't. It's 6 minutes long." And then he said, "This is this kind of shit." Or basically, right? Nobody's going to be jamming their head in the back of a car to this shit. So yeah, I know that was pretty good. Okay, so I suppose we should jump right into the show. Before we do that, we've covered a lot of ground already to get everything back on track. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just search Sports Nerds across those platforms, and you'll find us. You'll find our Hawkeye yellow logo. I'm going to keep it that way, Brian. I guess if Michigan wins this weekend, I might be willing to change it to the maize and blue. Just for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Just for you. So put that's on record now as me showing that. Hey, shout out Brian Alexi's on board. Brian, thank you. I love this shirt. He says nice Wayland shirt. Came in the mail yesterday. I had to redo some wardrobe, and that Grateful Dead t-shirt will still get used, but I needed to kind of wear it a little less in the rotation.
Yeah, you gotta change it up a little bit.
You and I are similar in the fact that we don't like to dress up much. We're kind of t-shirt guys, which could be the reason why we are such good friends.
This is like the most dressed up you'll ever see me.
I know. I think you wore that exact shirt to our presentation at RSA this summer.
I wouldn't doubt me.
Yeah,
I wouldn't doubt it. There's not a lot of depth in my rotation.
It may not, it may not have been washed since then either, but that's okay. And cheers for that.
Now that's just not fair. I definitely want my shirts.
You can so find us on the socials. We're there. We'd love to see you there and paying attention to what we're doing. I think we do some funny stuff. It's good stuff. Brian posts some funny stuff. Sometimes I post some funny stuff. A lot of times, or at least I tell myself it's funny. I don't know about if everybody thinks it's funny, but we try. We also have the blog. We've posted 2 blogs in the last 3 weeks. We were just talking before the show started. We're going to try to churn some more stuff out there. It's just kind of been busy times for Brian and I these last couple of weeks. But you can find our blog if you just go to wearesportsnerds.com, and there'll be a link or a button on there where you can click the blog. The goal is to basically provide relatively short reads, in-depth deep dives into sports, but short. And that's how we're going to do it. Brian says his phone battery is going to die, which is fine. Brian, no worries.
That defeats the purpose of me secretly typing you a message.
Okay.
I could have just told you.
Hey, it's okay.
My Instagram is going to go away. I didn't have power cord apparently.
No fourth wall here. Don't you have a secretary? You have a PhD, Brian. You're supposed to be. Somebody should listen to you when you yell for them.
We had an administrative assistant, and they have moved on, and they told us, you're not getting a new one. So now everyone in my department is our own administrative assistant.
Oh, okay. That sounds fun. Wow, that's a lot of. Are they paying you extra for that?
No.
Okay, cool.
Mostly it just means people stick their head in your office, and they're like, "Hey, is such and such here?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Go look." I'm not good administrative assistant.
That's not quite what you do. Awesome. You can
walk down there, look in the door. I don't know.
At some point, we're going to get into a podcast. It's going to be good sports talk. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, we'd love you to subscribe and rate us wherever you get this podcast. It could be Apple Podcasts, it could be Stitcher, it could be Google Music, Google Play, whatever the hell that's called. We do a lot of our work through Anchor.fm, fantastic service. I'm sure somebody asked me the other day, what do they do with your content? I don't know. I'm sure they're probably just cutting it up, splicing it, selling it for money. I didn't quite read the user agreement in detail, but it's there and allows us to post for free and host our podcast for free. You can also donate to us that way. I know that, we are not the most highly produced podcast. How about that? But we do spend a lot of time on this. And so if you wanted to throw $1 or $5 or 10 or 50 cents to us, it would be much appreciated. You can do that at anchor.fm/sportsnerds. All right, I suppose let's jump into our content for the day, Brino. First one, did you watch last night's Monday Night Football game?
Oh gosh, the Super Bowl, you mean?
Oh, easy. Okay, what'd you think of it?
That's the best game of the year so far. No, it was great. I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't want to dig too deep of a hole here, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think that you can have good football games where the play is really high quality and everyone's doing everything right that are still boring. And you can have bad football games where there's errors and mistakes, but it's still really interesting to watch. And that's where I put this game last night. It was high scoring, highest Monday Night Football game ever, I think, right? I mean, scored 100 points for me. It was absolutely nuts to watch. And I'll tell you this, man, I'm a Raiders fan. Raiders got to win this weekend for the first time since it seems like last year. So I'm predisposed to not be a Chiefs fan, to actively dislike the Chiefs because they play in our division. I like watching Patrick Mahomes play football. I think he's a ton of fun. It was great.
There were some throws that he made last night. I didn't watch a lot of it, to be honest. I'm not sure why. I'm not drawn to the kind of high-scoring NFL stuff, but I did watch a little bit of it, and there are some throws that he made that were pretty amazing. They're like Drew Brees throws. He's impressive, and I had no idea how good he was going to be. Obviously, any quarterback that comes out of Texas Tech, we kind of wonder because they're not usually very good NFL quarterbacks, but he seems to be the exception to the rule. So props to him. The other thing I was thinking about while watching that game is Sean McVay might be a genius, right? Which is kind of crazy because you have these two arguably, right, one of the best coaches established in the NFL over the last 15 to 20 years, and Andy Reid, who is considered a genius, who was a genius as an assistant coach for many years, and then he goes to Philadelphia. Yeah, Philadelphia for sure, and now with the Chiefs, he just is very inventive in his schemes, and then to see him match up with McVay, who is is he younger than you and I?
I think he is.
I think he is. Who's obviously going to be, you would think, successful in the NFL for a long time.
Well, you remember when they hired him, everyone thought it was just like a gimmick.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
We talked about on the podcast. I think they're like, we're moving. There's no expectation it will be any good. Let's just hire this young kid. It's kind of a funny, PR sort of thing. Oh, he's way younger than me, dude.
How old is he?
86.
Oh, he's way younger than both of us. I was born in 84, so.
Yeah, it's 32 or something like that, 31.
Wow, man, that's crazy.
You and I have had this conversation off the podcast before. You've texted, kind of basically the same thing you just said. Is this guy a genius, or I think this guy's a genius. Apparently he's 32. As I was watching last night, and you didn't text me this last night, but I was thinking about it. Is he a genius, or if you go back, like obviously time will tell. It's possible that you just hit the jackpot. You got lucky, and you've got a good quarterback, and you've got some good receivers. I mean, that team. LA is stacked, right? We can agree on that. They've got Cooper Kupp, and they've got however you say that guy's name. They've got Brandon Cooks. They've got, the best running back in football. They've got, Wade Phillips. I think is up there on the Mount Rushmore of defensive minds in football as well. Though that didn't really show last night. I mean, there's a chance that you put me at the helm of this team. A la Condoleezza Rice coaching the Browns or whatever, and maybe they're still pretty good. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I'm saying he's not doing something well, but I'm just saying you got to. It becomes a chicken and the egg sort of conversation. Is he making? I almost said Melvin Gordon, but that's not what I'm trying to think of. Why am I having a brain fart here? Who the hell's their running back?
Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley. There you go. Is Todd Gurley great because he's in the Sean McVay system, or is Todd Gurley just making Sean McVay look great? Because if you have the best running back in football, or the top 1 or 2 or 3 running backs in football, you can do a lot of stuff, right? If you can run the ball credibly, then you can chuck the ball down the field, and if you've got a bunch of talent in the wide receiver position, then it's easy to score a lot of points, which they do. So I don't know.
I want to ask you, do you like this brand of NFL? And I guess there's several. Let me just ask the questions, then you can answer. Do we like it? Is it a result of rule changes, or is it a result? And are those rule changes? Are they about player safety? Are they about ratings? Or are they about both? I mean, to me, and then I'll say this before handing it off to you. I think a lot of this is kind of the result of the fantasy footballification of the NFL. Like understanding that that's how attention and ratings work is putting up scores, getting people invested that aren't necessarily invested in one particular team, but rather players. And I'm sure in terms of like gathering attention and holding attention, that's a more compelling product for viewers across the country and across the world. Do you like it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, okay. I think this season has been boring. It's been one of the least interesting seasons for me. It's possible that part of that is that my football team had 1 win going into this weekend, so I'm just like checked out. The baseball season was also incredible. I think we saw some of the best postseason baseball we've seen in years, and so it just didn't transition very well to football for me. So I don't think the season's been great. I'm not sure I can say if it's because of rule changes or not or whatever. That game last night was interesting to me, not just because it was high scoring, though that was interesting. But also because of the back and forth, right? Just the entire game, it was one team pulled ahead and the other team came back. I mean, it looked like the game could have been a 2-score game going into halftime. It ended up tied going into halftime. It was absolute craziness. And the other thing is, you had 2 9-1 football teams, right? You had 2 really good football teams kind of facing off. I joked that it was the Super Bowl. It might have been, it might be the game that we, wish the Super Bowl is, except for, where's LA now? Are they in what division they play in? Do they move divisions when they move to LA?
No, they're still in the NFC.
Oh, so it could be the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We could get a rematch of that game. Yeah, I don't know. In terms of the rule changes, I'm never totally sure what they're trying to accomplish. I tend to agree with you that fantasy football means that people want lots of points to be scored because they can see that on their phones and when they're playing fantasy or when you're playing FanDuel or whatever, and that certainly is in the interest of the NFL. And maybe the part of the rule changes, the ones that restrict the ability of cornerbacks to actively defend wide receivers, it's going to increase scoring. It's going to mean longer touchdowns, and all of that sort of stuff is true. So I don't know. I guess I'm not giving a good answer here. I don't know if it bugs me. I will say I do like the rule change that you can't ground a quarterback into the ground anymore. I like that. I think that as a safety rule makes sense to me.
I would like to be in the locker room, or at least in a place where we could interview these defensive backs and linebackers, and I guess at some level, defensive linemen, about how these rule changes have changed not so much their approach to the game, but their mental disposition in the middle of plays. Because you would think, like, does that brief moment of hesitation impact how you cover a wide receiver, or whether you decide if it's a run or a pass? It would just be really, really interesting because it has to play a role in it, right? I mean, it has to. And I would think that some of these externalities of that decision making we're seeing in these increased scoring games. I'm looking at some of these stats right now. I got to pull them up real quick. I mean, it was crazy, right? Over 1,000 yards of total offense. Obviously, the final score was 54-51, Los Angeles. The thing is, as a product, this is what the NFL wants. I mean, you have the Los Angeles Rams. They're on the coast. They're in a huge city. It looked like it was a pretty good atmosphere last night. ESPN really played it up leading up. I think I was watching there was a live coverage at least 2 or 3 hours before the game. And so, I mean, ideally, this is kind of what they want. Right? Yes, they are a middle of the country team, but their fan base is massive, and they're not, in terms of like whether or not that kind of team would harm the NFL if they became popular. I don't think so. Popular at the national scale, I think it's one of those teams that is kind of compelling. Whereas if you had maybe a Cleveland or a Minnesota, it might be a little bit different. I think the Chiefs are kind of a different animal. It's considered one of the best places to play and one of the hardest places to play in the country.
A lot of stadiums.
Yeah. Are they hosting a Super Bowl?
I doubt it.
I thought for some reason
it's outdoor and it's cold there, so I assume not.
I knew that there were talks a few years ago about putting a dome on top, or at least a retractable roof on top of Arrowhead. It's kind of set up that way, though. If you ever go to Kansas City, it's a sprawling sports complex type area where that you have Kaufman right there next to it too. A lot of parking, and there are a ton of hotels. So whereas with Denver, I think you and I have talked about this, right? Denver can't obviously host a Super Bowl unless for some reason Mile High were to put a roof on there, but it's just hard to get around. Denver isn't built in the same way that a lot of these other places are. So
Miami, Tampa, Los Angeles are the next three.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's not coming.
I think that is the biggest problem with football. A huge problem with football is the neutral site Super Bowl. You should get to see, your fans should get to see if you win a Super Bowl. The top seed, the team with the best record should get to host it.
I wonder what the decision making process was for setting up the Super Bowl.
I'll tell you the decision-making process. They want it someplace warm so they can, have all of the craziness that surrounds the Super Bowl, make a lot of money. I mean, all those tickets are comp tickets for sponsors and vendors and all of that nonsense, and they don't want to go sit someplace cold. Like we saw the Packers in 2 Super Bowls in the late 90s, right? Wouldn't it have been great to see one of those games in January or the first weekend of February in Green Bay in the frozen tundra or something like that? I think that'd be freaking great.
I mean, those are the kind of mythical games in NFL history that we talk about. The frozen tundra game against the Cowboys, some of those games in Soldier Field. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I don't know, but I think the NCAA has set up their system in the same way.
No, I agree. I hate that too.
Yeah, you're not. It's not for fans, and I think you're right. You and I have talked about this. These events are not for fans. They're very much for not fans of the teams, I guess. They're very much about making money and being kind of events, if you will. All right. I know event is even the best term right there. Extravaganzas. Extravaganza.
Well, and I mean, they had the one in Indianapolis a few years ago, if you remember that, and it was only because Lucas Oil Stadium or whatever is inside, and they said that they basically redone a bunch of the downtown area to make sure that people could get around and have fun and all of that nonsense. I don't know. I think that What was it in Denver yesterday? I saw pictures. It looked like it was 80 degrees. I mean, you could have a Super Bowl in Denver. It's probably not going to be negative 20.
No, it probably won't. But I think that New York Super Bowl a few years ago, the NFL has no desire to repeat that again, and that could happen in Denver, right? I mean, that's not going to happen in Miami. That's not going to happen in Arizona.
So here you go. Miami has had 10 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans has had 10. The Los Angeles metropolitan area has had 7. Tampa's had 4. They're going to have their 5th. San Diego's had 3. Phoenix has had 3. Houston's had 3. Atlanta's had 2. Detroit had 2 in 82 and 2006. What must have been when Ford Field was new. San Francisco's had 2, also a new stadium. Minneapolis has had 2, indoor new stadium. Jacksonville, Dallas, Indianapolis, and New York have all had 1. So however many Super Bowls I just listed have all taken place in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever, 12 places. And if you kick out all the places that have hosted it once or twice, 20 of the 40, 50 Super Bowls we've had have taken place in Miami or New Orleans.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That's lame. That's stupid.
It is pretty lame. It's not like, well, I don't know.
How much do you care about the 50,000 people who get to go, right? Who are 90% of them are rich dudes to go for free anyways. Right? We give a shit if they're warm or cold versus the millions of people who watch it on TV. I want to watch people freeze their ass off in Green Bay.
If anybody would like to invite Brian and I to their Super Bowl suite, we would more than love to record live on location.
How do we get our press pass to get on the red carpet or whatever?
If GM or GE, if you're listening and you need some more publicity, we'll do it for free. Quite honestly, as long as you kind of get us into the suite. So yeah, we'll clear a schedule.
We'll drive out there. We'll hop in a Subaru.
One of our 2 Subarus. Yes, maybe with skis on top. I don't know. Maybe wearing Birkenstocks. I'm not particularly sure.
Grateful Dead t-shirts.
Grateful Dead t-shirts. All right, moving right along. We have to have this brief conversation because there are games happening this weekend. I will quickly get my shit game out of the way and say that Iowa hosts Nebraska on Friday. Let's hope to God Scott Frost has not figured it out, as I kind of feel he has.
That Nebraska team is better than the record, man.
Yeah, they are. I'm a tad bit worried about it. There's that. There's also Tiger versus Phil that's coming up. Are you going to watch Tiger versus Phil?
Is it on regular TV? I totally want to watch it. I think this is cool.
I think so.
Because they're like going to be mic'd up and they're going to have weird side bets. Here's my fear. Is that it's wildly overproduced. That they're going to try and make it seem like we really are just a fly on the wall watching 2 rich dudes play golf and bet with each other. They're going to try so hard to make it feel like that it's not going to feel like that at all. But my sincerest hope is that's exactly what it feels like.
Can somebody help us out figuring out where we can watch this? It's pay-per-view only. Rob Rutt says pay-per-view only. Oh, come on. Son of a bee sting. Well, there are sites out there, everybody, where you can stream sports for free. We won't share those over the air because I am in the friendly confines of the MSU Denver radio studio. But
I watched somebody that a mutual friend, acquaintance of ours, was looking to stream something, and I'm not good at. I don't know how to pirate movies. I don't know how to do any of this stuff.
I have a hard time believing that. I have a really hard time believing that.
I really am. I just pay full freight on this sort of stuff. But all he did was just went to Reddit and just typed in illegal stream of X, and 1,000 of them popped up. And I was like, is that all it takes? And he's like, yeah, that's it. I mean, like that, and you have to be willing to have your computer infected with some crazy virus. But
that's the wonderful thing
about
that.
As you're willing to pay that.
Brian, that's the wonderful thing about Apple devices is they don't make viruses very often for our wonderful machines. So thanks to Steve Jobs. I think he was thinking about us streaming illegal content.
I honestly thought it was going to be more like the Matrix to see someone, pirate a stream for a football game, and it was like, no, you just go to Reddit. That's it.
Yeah, Reddit's got a lot of good stuff on there. There's some wild stuff. There's also obviously the big game between your Michigan Wolverines and some people's Ohio State Buckeyes. I don't know. I really enjoyed seeing Ohio State almost lose last week. It's just fun to see Urban Meyer. So I swear, after while watching that game, the wife and kids had gone to do an errand, and I was doing something at home. I went back and just skimmed through the Iowa-Ohio State game towards the end from last year when Iowa beat them 56-20. I just wanted to watch Urban Meyer. He's so fun to watch when he's pissed. I hate that guy so much. I think
he's retired. Did you hear that?
I hate more than Harbaugh, which is hard. It's hard. It's hard. Okay, sorry. What'd you say?
He's retiring after this year, he says.
Oh, yeah. Is that what you want to talk about? He said he's retiring.
No, I don't want to talk about that, but I just heard that.
Oh, yeah. Perhaps he's got a tight end on his roster who's going to end up murdering people, so he should back out of the program. Really?
Oh, my gosh. Ouch.
I'm just saying, right? We all know that he knew the kind of person that Aaron Hernandez was. There's a reason why he has the relationship with Bill Belichick now. It's well documented. It's because he said that Hernandez was a stand-up individual, and Belichick should draft him. So that worked.
Ohio State did not really fall. Did they move at all? They went down 1 or 2 spots. The only reason they didn't lose that game is Maryland goes for 2 in overtime for the win, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Which props to Maryland.
Yeah,
but
you gotta do it. I'm all about that. We saw the Panthers.
I'm just saying, you think that you might drop a little bit farther down? I guess they're basically at the bottom of the pile for 10-1 teams, with the exception of Utah State. I don't know.
Utah State's pretty good, man. They're one of those teams. They
just beat CSU. Utah spent the weekend beating up on Colorado, right? Utah beat CU. Utah State beat Colorado State. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm trying to get, speaking of CSU, trying to get Ian Daw, who's a friend of ours, guy I went to college with or worked with. He's a CSU alum. Apparently there's a lot of sketchy shit going on up in Fort Collins with their entire athletic program, which if you are in Colorado, you probably know this. There were some issues with Eustacia as their basketball coach. Yeah. And now is it Bobo, I think, is their head football coach. Their AD is just kind of doing some things that people are wondering about. So hopefully, Ian's done a lot of research on this and investigated it. I want to try to get him on the show. If you and I can't talk with him, yeah, well, I know. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing about Denver. And you and I have talked about it. Like, nobody's really doing that kind of investigative journalism when it comes to college athletics. It's way more the professional sphere, the professional side, because that's just how things work here. But
there's not a lot of the Mountain West name doesn't carry a lot of cash in Denver, apparently.
No, even Colorado, right? Like, UC, they're going to fire Mike McIntyre after the season. They've already said it. The guy who won 5 straight games, then he's lost, I think, 6 straight.
Oh, my gosh. Didn't CU look like they were good for a minute?
They did.
They had everyone fooled. I was like, geez, they're okay, huh? No, not really.
Not really. Who do you like this weekend? So Michigan, okay, what happens, right? Michigan wins, obviously they're in because you would assume
they play Northwestern, right?
Hey, yeah, that could be a game. Sorry, Pat Fitzgerald, that's not going to be a game at all.
Northwestern has looked good in games they've lost. They've beat teams. I mean, that's not a bad football team.
Okay. Let's just move on.
No, I think the revenge tour continues. Yeah, I mean, the places where Michigan has looked exposed this year is against crazy mobile quarterbacks, right? The quarterback who's no longer starting for Notre Dame, but was week 1 when they lost. I mean, Michigan's defense looked as good then as it has the rest of the year, and they just kept losing track of this quarterback, and kind of the same thing happened a little bit this weekend as well in his game that they ended up winning, but it was closer than it should have been in the first half. So I don't know. I think that'll be the difference if Michigan can keep an eye on Ohio State's quarterback. I think they should. The defense will, carry them to a win, and they chucked the ball down the field this year with Patterson. So. Yeah,
but Ohio State, let's say Ohio State loses, right? That means the Big Ten doesn't get a team in, right? I mean,
if Ohio State loses to Michigan?
No, sorry. If Ohio State wins and then wins the Big Ten title game, I mean, that's –
yeah, no, I think that's true.
So who gets in? So it's a second SEC team, which means double the Paul Feinbaum?
Yeah, so you assume that Alabama wins the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson is going to play – what did we think?
Is it Syracuse again? I don't know how the ACC is split.
Oh, it could be Pitt, actually, right? Okay. Notre Dame's not going to play in a conference game. Michigan's number 4 right now. If they win, they would play Northwestern. Alabama has to play Georgia, so that's actually a game. Or are they in the same?
No.
But there's too many unknowns at this point. I think if Oklahoma wins out and wins the Big 12, then they would be in above Ohio State, right?
Yes.
I think so that's I think Oklahoma is a part of the question mark here. And so here's the other one. What if Georgia, who's 10-1, beats Alabama in an SEC championship game? Do you keep Alabama in? There's a bunch of things that could happen. You're correct. I don't think that Ohio State, if their path is beating a number 4 ranked Michigan and then beating an unranked or maybe a 22nd or 23rd ranked Northwestern, I don't think that gets them into the playoff. No.
Nope, I don't think so either. Okay, so there's that weekend of college football. Let's move on to Alex Smith's grotesquely broken leg.
Oh my God,
that was bad. That was disgusting.
Really quickly, we've got to circle back to your conversation about all the rule changes and safety and that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think at some point people have to realize that football is just a violent game, and you're never going to be able to regulate out the type of things that are just sort of chance, right?
Mm-hmm. No, you can't get rid of that. There's nothing you can do about that. No.
I see only one of you is participating in No Shave November.
Yeah, I can't grow facial hair.
This is actually just from this week. I just did No Shave Monday.
You should see his back.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. No. Not that I've seen your back a lot. Okay, so I guess the bigger story, like the side story, is the fact that the Redskins, who are leading their division, the Eagles look terrible, by the way. They're
crazy.
They're leading their division, and yet they go out. There's a guy that's sitting there, right, who's been to a Super Bowl that nobody wants to pick up, and instead they go get butt fumble Mark, and that's who's going to be backing up Colt McCoy this weekend, which is just talk about a stable of proven quarterbacks. I just don't understand it, right? I don't get what's going on here with NFL owners and their decision making. Look, it's not like Kaepernick would have to start. That's not at all what's happening. But why can't you sign the guy just to figure out what he's capable of doing? Have we moved past that point now where teams aren't even going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I should pause and just say in defense of Colt McCoy, I think he's a good quarterback who is one of many good quarterbacks who got foisted or had the Cleveland Browns foisted upon them, rather. And that dude who's a little bit undersized just got his ass kicked all over the place because that offensive line couldn't protect him. I think he's an okay quarterback. That doesn't mean I think that he's going to do well as a starter. He hasn't really played in any meaningful games in a long time. But I 100% agree with you. Going out and getting Mark Sanchez. Listen, dude, Kaepernick. What did he go to? A couple NFC Championship games, a Super Bowl. I mean, that's a better option than either Colt McCoy or Mark Sanchez. Yeah, go get that guy. That's insane.
Get it? I know. It just doesn't there's got to be something going on that people don't know about. Maybe it's this collusion stuff that is being investigated. I really don't get it because logically speaking, it's like go out and get this dude.
Yeah.
No, especially if you're leading your division and all you need to do is go 500, right? To finish out, if that, and win your division. It's like, what the fuck, man? Oh,
no, I think you're right, and it's possible that they're getting some sort of. I mean, I've heard this argument before, and I'm not a lawyer. I have no idea if this is true or not. But the argument is, no team can go out and get this dude while he has a lawsuit pending against the NFL, pending that alleges collusion, that they're not allowed to do anything with him. What's weird to me is it seems to me that if a team reached out to him and said, "Hey, will you come sign with us?" that he would probably drop his lawsuit as proof that there is no collusion, right? That someone signed him means that, well, I guess there could still theoretically be collusion among the other teams, but I don't know. I suspect if Kaepernick's agent got a call from Washington, that he would probably field that call, that he would go and work out with them and see what they think. And it seems like a no-brainer to me. It seems like a no-brainer. And by the way, if the argument that someone out there listening right now is making in their mind is, oh, well, maybe the Washington football team doesn't want controversy, that's a load of shit, right? Because their mascot and team name is super racist, and they love that controversy, so why not just add another layer to it?
Yeah, we just got a comment from Rob, who's a big listener. So he's wondering, I thought he was a cancer. He said he thought he was a cancer in the locker room. I don't know if that's true, right? You continue to see these players who played with Kaepernick supporting him and the cause. So I'm not sure. Maybe there's something in there that I haven't read, and maybe, that there is that element, right? There certainly is that element that maybe we need to kind of step back from and say, maybe this is the fact that, bringing media attention to a team that is winning can be problematic. And look, this is a different kind of animal than Tebow, but I think it's a comparison in terms of of the attention that a team doesn't want, especially from their fan base. Tebow has arguably ruined a couple of teams, not necessarily on purpose, but because fans are so drawn to that kind of polarizing figure that it influences the decision making of the general managers and the owners and ultimately the coaches. So I don't know. I mean, I guess there is that. I would just think that. Well, who knows? I don't know. I would think if you wanted to win. On paper, he would seem like a good choice.
No, I think it's true. I mean, like if you're working in the front office in Washington, maybe you're having a conversation that says, "Hey, should we go get Kaepernick?" And then someone says, "Well, if you do, the president's going to have a tweet storm aimed at you. Do you want to deal with that?" No, let's just have Colt McCoy.
I know.
And that means that people are potentially not choosing are choosing to not reach out to Colin Kaepernick. And no idea if any of this is happening, by the way. This is all hypothetical. Mm-hmm. But potentially they're choosing to not reach out to Kaepernick because of what you said. It's not because of his stuff. It's not because of his protest or his statement or his politics or anything like that. It's that it's become much, much, much bigger than him, that he's representative of or emblematic of a bigger fight about the role of politics inside of sports or something like that.
Okay, we got to move on to our last subject, our last topic, which is no more fun to talk about. But before we do this, if you would like a koozie or a wonderful sticker, we are willing to give you one if you could leave us a wonderful review on Apple Podcasts, and give us 4 stars. Leave us a review. Don't just rate us. Give us a review. I'll put a koozie and a sticker in the mail for you. We'll reach out to you and figure out what's the best way to reach you. I know a lot of you are watching here on Facebook who don't have those sweet-ass koozies that we made. Brian and I are also in talks of making some T-shirts, which I'm sure everybody wants a shirt with our faces on there. So we'll get there. And we're still, I think, anybody, if you would like to get our tattoo on your body, we're willing to pay for it. So reach out to us. We are sports nerds at gmail.com. We are sports nerds at gmail.com. Okay.
You didn't vet that one through me, but I fully support the sports nerds tattoo.
Yeah. I don't. Sometimes I just got to make these decisions without consulting you. You just got to go. You just got to go. All right. The last story you shared with me last night. I think it's the backstory of, let's see, her name is Emily Scheck, runner, cross-country team member, women's cross-country team member at Canisius College in Buffalo.
Which apparently is a D1 running program.
Yeah, it's a D1 school, right? Which, as you know, right, as being a D2 cross-country.
I was D3, man.
D3. Well, running, that's the thing, right? If you are a college athlete, for the most part, that's still a big deal. Right, like I wasn't a college athlete, and I'm a specimen of fitness and athleticism. So, to be like Brian in that beard is that's what it takes. Okay, so Emily, this is kind of a wild story, man. I'm just I'll give the backstory. In August, her parents had discovered via Facebook or social media posts that Scheck was actually a lesbian via pictures with a woman that she was dating. They were apoplectic, is what the Washington Post article says. They kicked her out of her house. They told her to leave school. She kind of refused to leave school because her parents they sent her dad dropped all of her stuff off in her dorm. They said, "You disgust me. Don't talk to us or your family." That's like the saddest part. That's what really, holy shit, man. That's some wild, wild stuff. I thought we had moved into a different era in terms of humanity, but apparently in this case, not so. But in order to kind of pay for college, to pay for her room and board, because her parents had been footing the bill for that, one of her friends, a roommate, launched a GoFundMe. This GoFundMe over the last 3 months has generated $58,000 to support Scheck's continued education. Now, here's where it gets a little fuzzy with the NCAA. The NCAA wanted the money back. They said that you cannot take that, you cannot keep the donations, and also maintain your eligibility, so keep both. So this happened last week. This week, the NCAA has kind of reversed their stance. In a tweet, they said Emily Scheck can retain her eligibility, continue to receive GoFundMe donations that assist her with living and educational expenses. So we're here. But I think, I guess, what did you take from the story aside from just the tragedy of it all? In terms of, sports, what did you take from it?
I mean, I'm a parent. You're a parent. The top level stuff is just gut wrenching. To whatever choice your kids make, to think that you would say to them, do something different, or I'm gonna disown you and kick you out and not support you, and that sort of stuff is really sad, and hard to, I don't know, hard to wrap my head. Make me want to tell them to go fuck off like this. It's not cool at all. When I first read the story, my first reaction is, oh, here's the NCAA fucking it up again, you know, just kind of being weird and doing it wrong. But at the end, I think they got it right. I think this is the end. Kudos to the NCAA, not for getting it right the first time, but for getting it right at the end, right, and saying that. And listen, I mean, the NCAA was at no point trying to weigh in on the substance of this story, right? About whether NCAA was simply trying to enforce its rules that say you can't get stuff of material value, right? Does that make sense? And they have these rules to prevent boosters clubs from buying high level recruits in football and basketballs, parents a house or something like that, and that sort of thing. And so I think they were just trying to enforce a rule that I understand that there's a difference between professional and amateur athletes, but they took some time, and you didn't cover this in your summary. This girl who was receiving the funds from the GoFundMe to pay for her school and pay for her rent and her food and that sort of stuff basically decided, I'm going to have to choose to give up my eligibility because I need the money. I need the money more than I need to be on the cross country team. And only when the NCAA came back and said, okay, look, we've evaluated the case and we've thought about it more, and we think that this is not really a violation of the spirit of the NCAA regulations that prevent people from receiving something of value. So,
this is as we were seeing in terms of the NCAA and Scheck relationship. It just shows the kind of clunkiness of the NCAA, and so I don't know if there's any particular way that can be fixed. But it's just an institution. This institution has to kind of evaluate the situation and apply a framework or a rubric to deciding whether or not it affects eligibility. Doesn't. I'm glad. Yeah, I think you're right. They write it and got it correct. And things obviously there's no amount of money that can probably fix the familial issues, trauma that happens here. But at least they would have been just one less thing to worry about. So that's particularly a positive. I think there needs to be some sort of committee that would evaluate these situations one by one. So that way, some out of the counties pretty slow, and have a big time college football program creating 100 pages or accounts for recruits. So that's my take. It's a sad story. It's probably a common than they put on. It's outscored with much better on it than Ryan and I did, so you can read that article. So that's going to wrap up things for today. Not any additions to make, Brian Schrader.
Go Blue.
Go Blue. Go Hawks. It's amazing. I got on Twitter last night, and I was reading the conversations between Iowa and Nebraska. I think I'm a Nebraska fan more than
it changes week to week. It's hard to keep track.
What a terrible week. You're right. I guess there's not much to do there. If you ever drive through Nebraska, there's not much to do.
What you're now witnessing is someone from Iowa talking shit about Nebraska.
We are. All right, so find our blog. We are sportsnerds.com. We'll be putting up the blog really soon. You can find us on social media. We're on all those platforms. Just search for our floating heads in that beautiful Hawkeye background. Shout out to listeners, those who got engaged with us today. Not married, but engaged with us. There you go. Not engaged. And if it feels like you can drop Brian $1 to anchor.fm/sportsnerds or leave us a review. Appreciate it, Brian. Happy Thanksgiving, you son of a bitch, and enjoy the hell out of whatever you're drinking tomorrow, okay? All right,
yep, we'll do.
All right, see you later.
Later.
Bye.